Divorce sucks, not just emotionally, but financially too. And I should know, I went through a very contentious divorce, and I had 4 children. I thought I would never get through it. It was a challenging time, but what I did want to make sure is that I was a role model for my kids, and I can tell you that the process is an expensive education, and it's worth it if you can find the happiness and independence that I certainly have, and very thankful for not being in that bad relationship anymore. We are in the process of a 3-part series talking about because there's 3 parts of divorce. There's before, during, and after. And yesterday we discussed the first part. Today we're gonna discuss other parts. What are we talking about today, Katie?
Well, we're going to start by talking about documentation. So, what kind of information is important for you to gather as you navigate the road to ultimately your new life?
Yeah, documentation is going to be very important because as you're putting together your net worth, you want to have accurate information. So collecting statements for everything, all your different retirement accounts, savings accounts, information on real estate holdings, trusts, partnerships, businesses, all of that is going to be important.
Yeah, and the more that you can gather, the more information that you have on your situation, the better.
And probably a lot of times it makes sense to try to collect this documentation before you even seek out legal counsel, and certainly before you were to file. The more documentation you can have, the more complete information you're going to have a snapshot of your assets that are to be discussed. What tends to be the biggest asset people have?
Well, there are investment accounts and retirement accounts, but in terms of physical property, the main issue and a big point of consideration is what to do with a shared home.
Right, the family home. That can many times be a very emotional part of a divorce, but it's really important that you understand that owning a house also isn't just owning the asset, it's maintaining and taking care of it. So most Americans have a lot of net worth tied up in their house, and many times it's their largest expense. So really being clear on what your intentions about whether or not to stay in the house is really important.
What about lifestyle and potential lifestyle changes? From your own experience and when you guide clients through exploration of that, what would you say about that?
Yeah, lifestyle and just paying for 2 households is more expensive than one. So even though in an ideal world both people in the relationship would continue to maintain their lifestyle, that's not always possible. And so what is important is to get really clear on what your needs are, your have to haves, and then the other lifestyle things to negotiate up to that. But it's realistic. I would encourage you to be realistic and think, what is it that you really need in order to have the basic living expenses, and then negotiate up from there.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. The other issue we frequently talk with clients about during the process is credit.
Right.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, so with credit, while you're navigating through divorce and until you have a date and things are final, any debt incurred many times is a joint asset. So it would be reasonable and advisable to separate out that debt. Now, it's going to be tricky if you have a non-working spouse because they're not necessarily going to get the credit that they may want. A bank or an institution is only going to lend you money if they know you have an ability to pay it back. And if you don't have a known earned income, that could be challenging. Some things to consider is before you file for divorce, And when you're in that planning stage, is to divide out the credit cards and maybe get it down so a credit card is in just one person's name. The other thing would be worth talking to your counsel of as to what is the date that maybe it can be denoted that any debt incurred after the fact of one date is separate property. But it is important that you take a look at your credit, and an easy thing to do would be to get a free credit report. It will list everything in your social security number, your partner's social security number, and I hate to say it, but sometimes you find out things that maybe you didn't know. Certain accounts that are open or liabilities. Sometimes you'll find out you owe more money than maybe perhaps you thought before.
We talked about the ability to get a free credit report. Where can our viewers find that?
You can Google it. Make sure you go to a program that doesn't charge you a fee for it. They usually like to tack on, but if you were to go free credit report, the government has the bureaus allow you to acquire a free credit report once a year. And it's a valuable exercise, I think, to do not only to get ready in the event of a divorce, but also to avoid credit fraud. That would be another reason to get a free credit report.
Well, this has been fantastic. We want to invite you, if you have any questions or comments for us, please put them in the comments. And then, Sarah, how can people reach us?
Yeah, we have a divorce planning kit that we provide freely. So if you would like to get a copy of that organizational kit, go ahead and drop us an email or give us a call, and we'd be happy to send one your way. Because the more organized, there's very few things you can control when going through such a difficult triggering event. Getting organized in your data is one of the few things that you truly can control how you spend your time doing. So
thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.